So I started this back in like November. I know. But it's 2026 now, and the quest for 2026 is to get into doing this vlog, get better at doing this vlog, share more with y'all about the things that I like to make and try and just have fun with, because like legitimately creativity, that is the point of creativity, right? You're just trying things out. You're making a mess. Whether it turns into anything or not doesn't matter. So I will occasionally talk about studio stuff and like things for, things relating to my shop or doing markets or things like that. But it's going to be a very small part of it. I just want to take you guys along on this never ending quest of mine to fulfill my creative desires. And, I hope it's mildly entertaining along the way, because, that tends to happen to me. It's just random craziness. I have a very chaotic brain, so a lot of chaotic things come out of it. Just ask my partner, he'll tell you. So anyway, what I have already filmed for this inaugural vlog was me back in November, kind of like talking about prepping for my last and biggest market of the year, the one I've been the most excited for. So we will go to some of that, and then we will come back here.
Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Danielle. I'm the artist and creative behind the Peaceful Muser, and you can find me pretty much anywhere on the internet with that tag, the Peaceful Muser. So this is my first attempt at a vlog. Welcome to the chaos. And we're in market prep. So my next market is the Frosty's Boutique at Marlington High School, which is my alma mater, so I'm pretty excited. It's one I've attended for years with my mom and my aunt, and back in the day my grandmother, and it's a really special one to me, so I'm really excited to be able to vend at it. It feels maybe not entirely like a full circle moment, but it's pretty darn close. So I'm needless to say, I'm excited. I have been prepping a lot of cardstock for the Little Ripples Kindness cards, for Doodle books, and also a new edition, which I'm calling Pocket Notes. They're basically like a much larger size of the Kindness cards. Kind of intended more for like a little sketch card, or just a bigger area to write down like a full-length poem, or a larger note to leave someone, basically. I don't know, pocket notes, again, I love tiny things. Today I'm gonna start prepping all of the Christmas and wintry themed paper, which I've already kind of started processing. Like, that's what this is back here. And it's very, it's Christmassy without being super kitschy, but just enough that, it's nice and whimsical, and it's very fun. And then some wintry themed paper to kind of carry us through to spring, But besides that, I've been really becoming obsessed with print block carving with the soft rubber carving blocks. I got started with one from a friend that I met at the Kent Flea and Maker Market. She gave me a little, I think it was like a 3x4 size of the Speedy Carve, the Speedball brand Speedy Carve blocks. And I've been trying out some different brands too, just because they're, A, they're less expensive because the Speedball brand is, you know, it's like the brand. So it's kind of more expensive. But also just to see, you know, the different levels of firmness with the rubber blocks and to see what I really like the best. But I'm quite obsessed with it. It's so fun. It's so satisfying. And honestly, it's really quick once you get the feel of carving. It could go super fast. Like there was a night last week where I legitimately carved out 3 stamps. I want to say it was, yeah. It was this one, and it was one of the little guys, I think. So maybe it was this one, which it was pretty simple, so it really didn't take that long. But yeah, like you can whip out, oh, I got ink on myself now. You can whip out quite a few, and they're, like I said, they're so fun, they're so satisfying, and you can use them for all kinds of stuff. Like if you're doing art journaling or bullet journaling, you know, you can make and design your own stamps, and really just, you can make anything you want out of it. It's a very fun craft to try. So yeah, so I've been doing a lot of that, and that leads me to what I'm probably gonna be working on next, and taking you guys kind of along my first attempt at this. I'm gonna be using these guys to make some like Christmas greeting cards and like gift tag cards for the Frosties market, with the ornament designs. And so I've got my, hold please. So I've got some, 5x7 cards. And then these little frickin' adorable gift tags. That's kind of the goal right now. That is my next goal. I've got some hanger things that I'm going to attach to kind of like, you know, at an angle here, but like down farther on the wall. So it's not like right at my grill. But I'm gonna attach those to this looped ceiling here, and then take some twine, or I have some like wire or twine wrapped wire. But something like that to attach between the 2 points to, like, as I stamp them, hang them to like really let the archival ink dry properly without feeling the need to have to touch it to move everything around. So I will see you guys back after I get it hung up. So, ta-da! It comes with 2 nails, but in order to not put more than necessary holes in the wall, I'm gonna just do 1 nail each. It's not gonna hold that much weight. It'll be fine. So, and if for some reason I feel differently later, I'll just add the second nails. So now we're gonna take some twine, and I'm just gonna make a little loopy that, you know, will have like a knot here that I can take on and off when I want, because then this one needs to be a little tighter, I think. Because then, see, you can kind of like flip these up when you don't need them. So, it's kind of what I'm thinking. Anyway. a second now. Now do string. I was not mic'd that whole first time, so I'm really hoping the audio is still okay. Anyway, now we have a mic. So, I like this. I think this is going to work really well. I can like double knot these, obviously, to make sure they don't like sag as I add things to this. But I think I could also, if need be, add another one if I need to do another row or something like that. So I think this will work pretty well. We'll see, but I'm pretty excited to. And it only took like 5 minutes, so, you know, that's a win.
And not all of that ended up on my website like I had hoped. And and I got burnout towards the end of the year. Not specifically because of the shop or that, or like trying to do too much creatively, because that can burn you out sometimes. Sometimes you even need to take a break from certain creative outlets, but the holidays for me was what kind of sealed the deal. As a neurodivergent person who, deals with two sides of the coin when it comes to that, I get very easily overstimulated when it comes to the autistic side of my brain, too much social interaction, too much sensory overload. But then at the same time, I can get bored really easily too. And I love novelty, and I love being spontaneous when I feel safe being spontaneous. I guess that's the best way to put it. Feeling safe to be spontaneous. I enjoy that feeling, as well as the legitimate safety I feel in being home with my partner, husband, whatever we want to call him. He's my emotional support human. In my head is what I call him. So, I like both things, but, so the holidays they're fun, but by the end of it, I am done. cannot do anything else. And there's usually a bit of a come down period. I don't always have a meltdown. And it doesn't always come out as a full-blown meltdown, but like I feel it in my body. I feel extremely overly exhausted for like a solid week. I might get headaches for a while, and I can't stand any more social interaction once that hits. Like I just can't do it. And the more I push, the harder it is. And at this point, I'm able to verbalize my needs and my struggles enough that those around me, my immediate family especially, like, they get it and they're super supportive, and they don't try to push me when I can't be pushed anymore. So, all that being said, so not everything that's Christmassy, ended up making it on the website this year, which, as a business person, not the greatest move, because I could have had them up right after the show and in time for purchase and to get to people by Christmas. But again, I was tapped out. I just couldn't make it happen. So, I got some things on the website, coloring pages, stuff like that. Things were easy to get up there that didn't require a lot of picture taking or new copywriting and things like that. But they'll be ready for next year. So that's one less thing future Danny will have to worry about. So that's how we're going to look at that, because it makes me feel a lot better. Anyway, besides all that studio shop talk stuff, let's get into some things that I have been making, shall we? Mostly since that show and through Christmas up to today, I've been doing a ton of sock knitting. It's my favorite thing to knit is socks. It's actually the first thing I learned how to knit is socks, which is not usually your first project as a knitter. Usually you start with a scarf, maybe a knitted flat, and then seamed hat if you're adventurous. But no, I wanted to knit socks. I was determined. Like, to give you a little bit of context, like knitting is not my first fibery endeavor. Like, I learned to crochet from YouTube before I learned how to knit. And before I learned how to crochet, I did like wire wrapping stuff. So like, I always kind of had some kind of string in my hand. But like, after I learned how to crochet, I was like, okay, this is cool. But I quickly kind of got bored with the, just making like dishcloths. I didn't love the look of crocheted garments for accessories. Like, in my mind, that's more for like household goods. Like, I still crochet dishcloths and like cleaning cloths because I love to use them. But that's pretty much the only thing I crochet at this point, is that. And it's the only thing I really enjoy crocheting, I guess, because it is super fast. It is super immediate satisfaction, but it also uses a lot more yarn. It's a little frustrating, and like, I don't know, I'm just not as in love with the hook method as with the needles, I guess. I don't know. And like, so I decided I wanted to learn how to knit, and like, the first thing I vividly remember, this was probably almost 10 years ago. I've almost been knitting for 10 years, y'all. I'm getting old. Almost 10 years ago. And for reasons why I don't remember the reasons, but like, all of a sudden I wanted to learn how to knit, and I started with loom knitting because needles scared me. And I was used to the hook, and when you do the loom knitting, you have like this little, almost akin to latch hooking, if anyone knows what that is or remembers it. Like, I feel like most of us did it in like middle school in like home ec class or whatever. But it's almost like that. Like, you have a little kind of hook thingy and you like pick it and flip it over these little like nodule thingies all around the thing. And so I did that for like half a minute and was like, this is fiddly, this is annoying, I don't like this, but I still want to learn how to knit. And so the only thing I really made with the loom knitting was slipper socks. And initially I made them for our mothers, and I think I might have made a pair for myself. But I'm like, I want to learn how to actually knit socks. Like, I feel like, not that it felt like cheating, but I feel like this isn't legitimately sock knitting. And like, you can debate that all day long if you want, but like, if you're making a thing, you're making a thing. I don't, it's still knitting. It's just a different technique of knitting is really all that it is. But I wanted to knit socks that looked more like the socks you see on the regular. And back at that point, we had a local yarn store near me. And the schedule I worked at the time, I was dispatching. Nothing exciting. It was just like transportation dispatching. Or logistical dispatching, sorry. And so I had like a couple days off during the week. And so this local yarn shop happened to have like a knitting free time at the shop on, I want to say it was Tuesdays. Pretty sure it was Tuesdays. And so I went to the yarn shop, and I was like, the lady that ran it was super nice, super sweet, and like on the younger side. So like, she was older than me, but maybe by like 10 years, she was closer to my age than the other women that came there. And I came in and I was looking at all the pretty yarn, and she was asking me, she's like, so what are you looking to do? And I said, well, I really want to learn how to knit socks. And she was like, okay, first of all, well, let's go look at this yarn, because I was looking at the completely wrong yarn, y'all. Like, not so much gauge wise, like I kind of knew you didn't usually use like super chunky yarn to knit socks. So like, I was looking at what ended up probably being a worsted weight yarn. But she, kindly led me over to the fingering weight sock yarn area and helped me pick out a yarn, which I actually still have a teensy weensy bit of. Not enough to do anything with. But I could add it into like a scrappy sock at some point, so I guess that's why I've been holding on to it. Why did we hold on to scraps? But and she was like, okay, so like, what have you knitted up to this point? And I was like, well, I haven't really, but I crochet. She was so sweet. She was so nice about it. Like, I look back now and I'm like, she probably thought I was crazy. Which would have been fair, because again, you don't usually start with knitting socks as your first project. It's not usually a beginner thing. But when I go hard, and once I set my mind on the thing, whether it's that I want to learn to knit socks, or my husband and I are talking about dinner, and he, like, even in the most briefest way, mentions like getting the takeout, man, I latch onto it. But when I latch onto it, and it's like nothing else exists anymore. So I was determined I was going to learn how to knit socks. And I told her, I was like, I've not really knit anything. I know how to crochet, and like, I've watched some YouTube tutorials on how to knit, like how to like do a knit stitch. So like, I can reasonably do a knit stitch. Like, my tension's still not perfect or anything, but like, I get the concept of how to do a knit and how to do a purl. And in my mind, that equated to, okay, we're ready for socks. So you know, I bought the yarn, and like she so kindly like sat down and like we started on double points, which I hate double points. Like I freaking hate them. I only exclusively use 9-inch circulars for sock knitting. At this point, like I've tried magic loop too, but I don't. It's not as bad as double points, but it's still very fiddly. I just don't enjoy it. But 9-inch circulars, I really enjoy the fluidity of that style of sock knitting. But I learned on DPNs, and you know, she got me going, and it went relatively well. You know, we got to the heel part, and I think she did teach me like how to do the traditional like heel flap and gusset thing, which I have since abandoned because I just don't. I don't. The feel of it doesn't entice me enough to log it in my brain well enough for me to memorize it. And the thing I love about sock knitting is like I can just do it and I don't have to think about it at this point, because like I finally, after some trial and error, because like especially with sock knitting, because fit is a big thing with it, and there's so many variations of how to do a heel, you know, different ways of casting on for the cuff and that kind of thing. So like there's a real like recipe kind of vibe to it. And once I figured out, you know, the heel that I prefer, which like for me is the German short rows. It's in my opinion super easy to memorize. And once you do it a couple times and you can see this, you can see where the stitches are and where your wraps are. Even if you set it down in the middle of doing a heel and pick it back up, like I know where I'm at, you know. But like we learned the traditional one and everything, and I finished a sock from that particular project. I did not finish the second sock because I did not want to do that heel again. But I think that was when I discovered the 9-inch circulars. Because I think she could tell I wasn't really a fan of the DPNs. So I think she gave me the hint about the 9-inch circulars. I'm pretty sure. But that like launched the love of sock knitting. And like while I had that schedule, like I went there like every Tuesday and you know, hung out with the ladies there, and you know, I was the youngest person there by at least a decade, but I don't know. I highly enjoyed myself. I've always enjoyed hanging out with people that are older than me. I can't tell you why, other than hanging out with people who have a higher maturity level made it easier for me. Also, I don't know, I love those ladies. They talked all the time. I didn't have to talk a lot unless they asked me questions. Plus, we were pretty much constantly talking about yarn. So, you know, who can't talk about that all day? But yeah, so I've been doing a lot of sock knitting, and hopefully soon I will have my first fully finished pair of socks for 2026. I'm not going to completely like count them. You know, I'm not going to like give myself a goal or anything. You know, my only real goal is like, you know, eventually to like switch over all my socks in my sock drawer to hand knitted socks. But like, I'm not setting a, you know, I want to knit a pair of socks every week in 2026 or anything like that, because it's just putting that kind of goal on myself. You know, unless it's a super, you know, I'm gonna knit 3 pairs of socks like that, I can handle. That's fine. But like, as soon as I set some kind of more rigid goal, my demand avoidance kicks in, and I'm basically like, nope, we're not doing that anymore. Nope, I'm gonna go color now. Bye. and then I won't touch yarn for 3 months. So we aren't going to do that. We're just gonna, kind of like Dory, just keep knitting, just keep knitting, just keep knitting, knitting, knitting. We're just gonna keep knitting. And just try to, you know, not hyper focus on knitting solely, because like I have a hard time with that sometimes. I get super focused on one craft or one creative pursuit, and then I'm like locked into that for kind of a long time, like a couple months. And then I'm like, oh man, I haven't written anything or I haven't drawn anything in 3 months because I've been knitting this whole time. So like, I guess that's really my only goal besides, you know, the vlog, getting better at the vlogging thing, being consistent with the vlogging thing, is like being more balanced in my creativity, in my creative practice, so that I'm spreading out my creativity amongst different mediums. Because it's good practice for me to create better habits for that. And to try to manage the hyperfocus a little bit, if you can. It might still happen sometimes, but I'm going to try to be better about that this year. And I'm hoping that the creativity club that I had started last year, and we're starting back up this coming Tuesday, the 6th. It's on Meetup. We gather. Well, we're starting off for Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. It's virtual. We're gonna try that out for at least, I don't know, I think I set it for like 1 or 2 months for that date and time. It's adjustable if other date, you know, if somebody else wants to try a different date or time or whatever, you know, pretty chill. But definitely, I think I want to use that time to dedicate specifically to writing, because I'm having the hardest time dedicating time to writing. You know, mostly because I need quiet when I write. And generally, like, if I have an idea in my head, I need to get it out. Like, I can do that when there's other stuff going on, but like to really work on something, I need to have quiet, or, you know, selective quiet, like having music on my headphones or something. Now that we've knitted, I have water. I think I'm going to end it here for this one. Again, just because I just need to get this first one out, and then the hurdle will be jumped, and it will feel easier. This first one, it's just hard, man. It's like it shouldn't be this hard, but it is anyway. So, you know, I hope you guys have a great start to your week. I hope that you take time to create peace for yourself today and every day, and I will see y'all next time. Peace out. Bye.